I unbox a new package. Let's find out. What is good, YouTube? It's That One Camera Guy back at again with another video for you. I think I've got a lens in this case, in this package here. We're gonna go and check out what it is exactly. So let's jump to the table. If you're new to my channel and you're finding it for the first time, I go by That One Camera Guy. I make videos, tutorials, guides, and reviews on the Sony Mirrorless system. If you'd like to catch the latest content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell when I produce content every single week on my channel. And my old subscribers, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and just unpackage this right away. All right, here we go. It is the Kamlan 50mm F1.1. Here's the box. It's a little banged up on the edges, but that's okay. Let's open it up, see what's inside, other than the lens, I guess. And we got a complimentary cleaning cloth, which is something I'm seeing in all of these Chinese-made based products. And then we got this little protected cover. And then straight away, we get to the actual lens itself. As you can see there, 52mm filter thread, 50mm F1.1. Let's see. Let me get my first take on the focus ring here. Focus ring is smooth and well dampened. The aperture ring is pretty stiff. It might loosen a little bit over time, but it's pretty stiff out the box. Okay. Other than that, that's pretty much all they give you inside of the box. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look. Just looking at this now of the mount. So there's a bit of a gap here where the lens meets. But wow, this is incredible. All right, let's go ahead and go to 1.1. Turn on the camera. So I want to go ahead and share my thoughts, my initial thoughts about the Kamlan 50mm F1.1 APS-C lens. Now, you'll note that it's mounted on a full-frame Sony Mirrorless camera. And I had to do this for a couple of reasons, but we're going to go ahead and get to that in a little bit. So I took it outside, and fortunately, you know, it's really bright day. And you know, the Sony a6000 series of cameras sort of tap out at 1/4000th of a second, so it makes it really challenging to shoot. I did shoot indoors. There was a segment I was shooting like a step ladder, and they had some text on it, something I've shot before in the past. I shot between f1.1 to f4. I might have jumped to f5.6, but from the initial looks of it, f1.1 on the Kamlan is a bit soft. F2, it sort of sharpens up a little bit more. F2.8 gets a little bit better to where it's more acceptable for me. And then F4, it's pretty good. I would say F4 is kind of where it looks good to me already, to the point where I'm happy with the sharpness of the lens. So between F2.8 and F4, the lens looks pretty good in terms of its overall sharpness. Now, I believe this lens has 12 aperture blades on here. And so you're going to see a few sample images, and you can look at the bokeh and the rendering in the background to see if that's something that looks good to you or not. I'm not one to be a big stickler on bokeh and making it seem, if it seems distracting to you. I think that's going to be more subjective on your part, so you can go ahead and look at those for yourself. Now, while again I was out shooting, I realized that it was very bright outside. I needed a faster shutter speed in order to shoot f1.1. I definitely didn't want to put a 52mm filter thread or filter over this, because you don't want to affect the sharpness in any way. So I went and brought the Sony A9. It has an electronic shutter. I was able to crank it up to 1/32,000th of a second. I don't even think I had to even go that far. I did shoot in APS-C mode because there is a vignette, a pretty strong vignette on here, because it is an APS-C lens. So I was getting 10 megapixel stills from the images, which it doesn't really bother me. I'm just doing some test shots outside. The image quality looked pretty good to my eye, and the overall performance looked pretty solid. I did do a couple of tests where I had the styrofoam cups positioned. I went back from 1 foot, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, wide open so you can kind of see the rendering that you get from this lens as you step back. And the way it looks to me, even at f1.1, if you're further back away, you can still knock that background out and get some really nice shallow depth of field, that out of focus blur in your photographs. Then I went ahead and did some indoor testing, a little bit of testing indoors, shooting some stuff indoors, and I was trying to do some basic comparisons to the f2.0. Now, I really like this 50mm Makey lens at f2.0. It's pretty sharp in my opinion. I think it's sharper than the Kamlan at f2, but I would have to do more testing. That's more anecdotal than anything from what I've seen before. When I remember shooting wide open at f2, this lens was pretty sharp. Shooting wide open with the Kamlan at f1.1 didn't really yield the same sharp results that I was hoping for. Obviously, it's not going to be sharp, but I still think it's sharper at f2 with this than it is with the Kamlan. So the Makey, I think, is doing a little bit better in that front. So things to think about: it's a really great low light performer, so you can get a little bit more light into your camera, so you can use a lower ISO. But even in video, I was looking at the video, so I was recording video with the Sony A9, and even at f1.1 at 4K, you can definitely see that the quality of the video wasn't exactly sharp. It's kind of like saying, yeah, you can shoot at f1.1, but the quality is a bit blurry, or it's a little soft. It doesn't look as good as I'd like it to be, so that might affect it. There is a big difference though from shooting at f1.1 to f2 on the Kamlan lens. When I was shooting at f1.1, I was shooting at ISO 8000 in pretty much dimly lit room. If I was shooting at f2, for example, with the Makey lens, I would find myself at ISO 25600. So almost, over a stop and a half or so of difference. I think maybe a little over a stop, right, in terms of performance. At the same time, shooting at f1.1, really shallow depth of field, sort of soft. Those are just little trade-offs. So it can come in handy when it's low light and you need to be able to capture something, but at the same time, you're going to trade off with the overall sharpness of your footage. So my initial conclusion with this, if you're looking for a photographic lens tool, I would say I think this lens is pretty cool as like a novelty item. I actually kind of dig the shots I got with the A9 using the Kamlan as an APS-C crop mode. And by the way, I mean, you could technically get away with using the full frame mode with a little bit of vignetting. I'll have to do more tests, but as far as initial tests, if you're kind of a person that was really interested in this lens, for me, I think it falls along the lines of you're getting it because it's in f1.1, but in terms of its technical ability, I still think something like this Makey lens or maybe some other manual focus glass out there that you might be familiar with will probably do a much better job. You will get a little bit more light out of this particular setup. I think if you're a budget conscious person and you're looking at these two lenses and you want to get into manual prime lenses, for a beginner, right? For a beginner, I still think like either adapting your own 50mm prime lens you can find for cheap online. I always recommend sort of like the Makey ones because you don't have to do any more adapting with any more pieces to the lens. Right now, as far as initial recommendation, I don't highly recommend it as a go-to lens. I think it's just cool as far as novelty wise. Well folks, that's all I got for you in this video. If you found some value out of it, consider giving it a like, subscribe if you haven't done so, and make sure you check out my other content. And with that said, I'm your host, That One Camera Guy, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.